All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Awesome. So today we're going to be digging into natural ways to manage chronic pain.
Yeah, really important topic.
It is, and all of this is based on this source we have, Managing Chronic Pain Naturally. So if you're someone who is maybe looking for alternatives to medication or maybe some ways to kind of boost your current treatment, this is going to be for you. And one thing that really jumped out at me from this source, get this, dehydration can actually make your pain worse.
Crazy.
Right?
It's true. It's one of those things that people don't often think about, but, simple lifestyle changes can make a huge difference.
Yeah, really huge. Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, maybe we should start by defining what we're even talking about here. So if you've been dealing with pain for more than 3 months, that's considered chronic pain.
Okay, so not just like, a stub toe or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
This is persistent, long-term pain.
Got it. So the source we have, it highlights some common conditions like arthritis, fibromyalgia, migraines, lower back pain, neuropathy, even pain after surgery. So it seems like chronic pain can really come from anywhere.
It really can, and that's why it's so important to understand, the root cause of your pain, and not just focus on treating the symptom.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what's great about this source. It really takes a holistic approach.
Yeah.
It's not just about masking the pain, it's about looking at the whole picture.
Love that. So let's dive into one of my favorite topics, food. The source calls it food as medicine, which I love, and it really stresses the power of an anti-inflammatory diet.
I mean, you are what you eat, right?
That's what they say. So what kind of things should we be eating?
Well, the source highlights the importance of loading up on colorful fruits and veggies. They're full of antioxidants and vitamins.
Okay, yeah, eat the rainbow, right? We hear that all the time.
Exactly. And then, don't forget about those omega-3 fatty acids. Things like salmon, flax seeds, walnuts.
Yeah, I try to get those in for sure.
Those are great choices. And then the source also talks about the importance of whole grains. So brown rice, quinoa, things like that, which are great for providing essential nutrients.
Yeah.
Really helping your body function optimally and reduce that overall inflammation.
Okay, those are all the good things. But what about, what should we avoid? What's on the naughty list?
So this source is pretty clear on this one. Processed foods are a big no-no. So, sugary treats, refined carbs, trans fats, they all directly contribute to inflammation, which just makes pain worse.
So maybe those cheat meals need to be a little less frequent, huh?
Yeah, maybe dial it back a bit. It's all about balance, right?
Right.
But this source really highlights how much of an impact our dietary choices can have on our pain levels.
That's huge. Speaking of things that have a big impact, the source also talks about hydration. And I'll admit, I'm not always the best at drinking enough water. So how does that tie into pain? I don't really get that connection.
Well, think about it this way. Our bodies need water for basically every function, right? That includes keeping our joints lubricated and our muscles working properly. So when we're dehydrated, those processes become less efficient. And it can actually make your pain feel more intense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, grabbing my water bottle right now. So we've got diet and hydration, but there's got to be more to this holistic approach, right? What else is this source talking about?
Absolutely. So now this brings us to physical activity. I know it might seem counterintuitive if you're in pain, but the source really emphasizes that gentle movement can be incredibly beneficial.
Okay, I can see how exercise might be helpful for stiffness and things like that, but does it really actually reduce the pain itself?
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about, intense workouts here. We're talking about low impact exercise. So things like walking, swimming, cycling, even yoga or Tai Chi.
Okay, yeah.
They all can make a big difference because they get your blood flowing,
Yeah.
which helps to deliver nutrients to your muscles and joints. Plus, and this is a big one, exercise releases endorphins.
The feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. And endorphins act as natural pain relievers.
Awesome. So it's like a double whammy. You feel better physically and mentally.
Exactly. And the source also stresses the importance of stretching. Improving flexibility can reduce tension in areas that tend to get tight, like your lower back and neck.
Yeah, stretching always feels good. Got to make time for that. What about strength training? Does the source say anything about that?
It does, yeah. Building muscle strength can actually help to support your joints and reduce the strain that often leads to chronic pain.
Okay, so strong muscles, less pain. Got it.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about things we can do for our physical, body, diet, hydration, exercise. But what about our minds? Does the source talk about the mental and emotional aspects of chronic pain? Because I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle.
You're so right. And the source dives into that. It highlights the connection between our minds and bodies, especially when it comes to pain management. So it talks about things like mind-body techniques, such as meditation and mindfulness.
Okay, I've tried meditation before, but I'm not sure I get it. Like, how can something that seems so passive actually combat something as physical as pain?
That's a great question. It's not about ignoring the pain, but about changing your relationship to it. Chronic pain often comes with a lot of stress, anxiety, even fear. And these techniques can help you tap into the present moment, reduce those negative feelings, and just learn to observe your pain without letting it completely take over.
So it's not like you're trying to get rid of the pain completely, it's more about shifting how you perceive it and react to it.
Exactly, yeah. And the source even mentions deep breathing exercises and guided imagery where you're visualizing calming scenes can be really helpful.
Yeah, I've done guided imagery before, and it's actually pretty powerful. It's almost like you're tricking your brain into feeling more relaxed.
I think it's less about tricking your brain and more about training it to respond differently to those pain signals. And speaking of training your brain, the source also talks about cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of CBT. How does that tie into managing chronic pain?
So CBT helps you identify and change negative thought patterns that are often associated with chronic pain. For example, instead of thinking, this pain will never end, you might learn to reframe that thought as, this pain is temporary, and I have tools to manage it.
So it's about shifting your focus from feeling kind of helpless to feeling more empowered.
Exactly. And that can make a big difference in your experience of pain.
This is all really fascinating. I feel like we're really starting to understand how connected our physical and mental well-being truly are.
Absolutely. They're totally intertwined.
Yeah, and it seems like this source we're looking at, it goes beyond just the conventional approaches. It talks about what it calls alternative avenues for pain relief. So I'm curious, have you ever tried acupuncture?
I have, yeah.
It's always fascinated me. Like, those tiny needles, and somehow they're supposed to relieve pain. How does that even work?
Right. It seems a little mystical, but it's been used for centuries, and the source actually explains that those needles, when they're placed strategically, they stimulate nerves and increase blood flow to specific areas, which helps to reduce pain and promote healing.
So it's not just some ancient, voodoo magic. There's actually, like, a physiological basis for it.
Right. It's backed by science.
That's really cool. Another therapy the source talks about is chiropractic care. I know some people who, swear by it, especially for back pain.
For sure. Chiropractors, they focus on the spine, and they use adjustments to alleviate pain and improve mobility. The source specifically mentions its benefits for conditions like lower back pain and migraines.
So it's more than just, cracking your back. It's actually about, realigning things to improve overall function.
Exactly.
Okay. And what about massage therapy? I mean, who doesn't love a good massage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is that really considered a pain management technique?
It can be, definitely. Massage isn't just about relaxation. It helps to relax those muscles, reduce tension, improve circulation, and all of those things can contribute to pain relief, especially if you're dealing with, chronic muscle pain.
Makes sense. So we've explored mind-body techniques and alternative therapies, but the source also talks about, something really simple, temperature.
Yeah, both heat and cold therapy can be really valuable tools.
Okay, so heating pads, ice packs, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So heat therapy can be great for easy muscle stiffness and promoting blood flow. You can use a heating pad or even just take a warm bath.
Okay, yeah.
And then cold therapy, using ice packs, can help to reduce inflammation and numb pain, especially during those acute flare-ups.
It's amazing how our bodies, respond to these simple temperature changes in such therapeutic ways.
It really is.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I definitely want to explore the world of natural supplements.
Okay, yeah.
It seems like everyone is talking about turmeric these days. What's the deal with that?
Turmeric has been getting a lot of attention, and for good reason. The source really highlights curcumin, which is the active compound in turmeric, and it's a potent anti-inflammatory agent. In fact, studies have shown that it can be as effective as ibuprofen for certain types of pain.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's more than just a tasty spice, huh?
It is, yeah. And then another one that's been making waves in the pain relief world is CBD oil.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that.
It's derived from the cannabis plant, but unlike THC, it doesn't get you high.
Right.
And the source points to some studies showing that it could be really helpful for managing pain, especially for things like arthritis and neuropathy.
Really? Wow, that's promising.
It is, yeah.
Any other supplements we should have on our radar?
You might be surprised to learn that a magnesium deficiency can actually contribute to muscle cramps and pain. So the source suggests that taking magnesium supplements could be really helpful.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's important.
This is all incredibly valuable information. We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have. But we're just getting started. There's still more to uncover in this deep dive on natural pain management.
Can't wait. Wow, it's amazing how many different factors can influence chronic pain.
Right.
Yeah, it's like so complex. I'm curious, does the source talk about sleep at all? Because I know, like, when I'm sleep deprived, even like little aches and pains seem so much worse.
Yeah, you're totally right. The source actually emphasizes that link between poor sleep and worsened chronic pain. Basically, when you're not getting enough rest, your body produces more inflammatory chemicals.
Oh, wow.
Which, can just intensify your pain.
So it's like adding fuel to the fire.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not just that you're more sensitive to those pain signals when you're sleep deprived, but your body also isn't as equipped to regulate those signals effectively.
Oh, that makes sense. I've definitely noticed that, like, in my own life. Does the source give any tips on, like, practical things we can do to improve sleep?
Yeah, it talks a lot about sleep hygiene, like those habits and practices that promote restful sleep.
Okay.
So things like sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, even on the weekends, and creating a relaxing bedtime routine.
Okay, yeah. I know I'm guilty of, like, scrolling through my phone in bed. Is that, like, a sleep hygiene no-no?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
The blue light from those electronic devices can interfere with your body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
Right.
Which makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. So the source actually recommends powering down those devices at least an hour before bed.
Oh, okay. No more late night social media for me.
Yeah, it helps.
So we've talked about diet, exercise, even our thoughts can affect pain, but what about stress? I feel like when I'm stressed, my muscles get all tense and any like existing pain I have just seems to flare up.
Totally. The source talks about that too. Chronic stress can definitely make things worse. It triggers the release of hormones like cortisol, which can increase inflammation and make you more sensitive to pain.
So it's like this vicious cycle. Stress leads to pain, and pain leads to more stress.
Exactly.
How do we break free from that?
Well, the source suggests exploring some different stress reduction techniques. Things like journaling, spending time in nature, maybe picking up a hobby that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
It's all about finding healthy outlets that help you de-stress and shift your focus away from that pain.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I imagine what works for one person might not work for another.
Oh, for sure. Totally.
Yeah.
It's really about finding what works for you and what fits into your lifestyle. There's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to this stuff.
Right. So having done this deep dive into all these different approaches, what would you say is like the key takeaway for someone who's struggling with chronic pain?
I think the biggest takeaway is that managing chronic pain naturally, it requires a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
It's not just about addressing those physical symptoms, but also looking at, those mental and emotional aspects.
Right.
It's about taking care of your body, nourishing it with those nutritious foods, getting that gentle movement, prioritizing sleep, and finding healthy ways to cope with stress.
It's like creating this symphony of wellness.
I like that, yeah.
Where every instrument plays a part in creating this harmonious balance.
Exactly. And I think the most important thing is that you have more control over your pain than you might realize.
Yeah, that's empowering.
It is. And while this deep dive is packed with great information, it's still important to remember that it's not a substitute for, professional medical advice.
Right.
Always talk to your doctor to figure out a pain management plan that works for you.
So important. Now, for our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. Now that you've gotten all these insights on managing chronic pain naturally, what one change are you most inspired to try in your own life? Let us know. It's really inspiring to think about all these different tools and techniques that are out there.
It is.
Sometimes it feels like, where do you even start?
Right. Yeah, it can be a bit overwhelming, but I think, even making one small change can make a difference.
Right.
Like maybe swapping out that sugary soda for a glass of water. Or, adding some turmeric to your dinner tonight.
Okay.
Or even just taking 5 minutes to do some deep breathing.
Yeah, those are great, starting points.
Yeah.
Small steps.
Exactly. And they can lead to big changes. And the source also points out, you don't have to do this alone.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There are so many resources available, like healthcare professionals, support groups, even online communities. There are so many people who are dedicated to helping people manage chronic pain. It's about finding what works for you, finding your people.
Finding your tribe. Yeah, that's huge. This deep dive has been so eye-opening. I think for me, what really resonates is that, we do have more control over our pain than we often realize.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the message I hope people take away from this. We're not just passive recipients of pain.
Right.
We can take proactive steps, embrace that holistic approach, and advocate for ourselves. And I think, we can reclaim our well-being, live fuller lives.
Absolutely. It's been so insightful exploring all these different approaches with you.
Thanks for having me.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into managing chronic pain naturally, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought. Your body is incredibly resilient.
It is.
And it has this amazing capacity to heal by, tapping into the power of nature, harnessing that mind-body connection, and seeking support when you need it. You can find a path toward lasting relief. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep believing in your body's ability to heal.
Well said.
And that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.